I've already read 2 5-star books 2026 and we're only a month in. That like never happens. Last year I know I was like a good month in before I found my first 5-star, and now I got 2 in the very first month. So today I'm going to be ranking my books that I read in January from my least favorite to my most favorite. And like I mentioned, I have 2 5-stars on there, and I think the other ones are like 4 and 4.5. So in my opinion, I read a lot of good books in January, and now I'm afraid to get into a reading slump. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Kate, and welcome to my bookish corner of the internet where I talk all things books, planners, and that type of thing. If you're new here, please, if you like the video, hit subscribe, and welcome to today's video. Like I said, I'm going to be ranking the books I read in January. I read 6 of them, and I'm ranking them from my least favorite to my most favorite. So starting off, this was very surprising to me because I love this author. I have rated many of his books 4 and 5 stars, but it's Summit Lake by Charlie Donlea. I just didn't like this one. It is about a reporter who something really bad happens to her, so her boss, basically to get her mind off it, sends her what he thinks is like a fluff piece where she'll get to relax in this beautiful area of the Blue Ridge Mountains, but to just cover this murder that he thinks is pretty straightforward case. But she uncovers something that kind of shows that it's not the case, and the law enforcement are hiding things, and she's trying to get to the bottom of it. This law student just dies in the middle of nowhere, or she's at home, but it's like in a country in the middle of nowhere in Blue Ridge Mountains, and no one knows who killed her. They think it's just some serial killer, non-targeted type situation where she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this reporter goes, and she kind of is looking into it because she doesn't believe that it was that type of case. She thinks her killer knew her, and so she's just trying to uncover it. I don't know why I didn't like it. I think it's so unlike any of his other books. I don't know, it just felt like a random thriller that's like, all right, and I didn't really understand a lot of it. Not that I didn't understand it, I can't say why without giving away spoilers, and I'm not saying don't read the book. I'm just saying there are so many other ones from him that are much more worth your time, in my opinion. I rated this one 2.5 stars, and I rarely go that low, but I think it's just because I had high hopes for Charlie Donlea. So, sorry, but I didn't like that one. The next book on my list is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. I rated this 3 stars. It was okay. It's about 3 sisters whose parents get murdered, and they kind of all get together to, I think they kind of all suspect each other, so they all kind of let the middle one take the fall, and then years later, the middle one, she got away with it, like she didn't do it, but her sisters kind of thought she did, or they think that they did. It was just very confusing, and so they go back because this middle child needs somewhere to live because she just has nowhere to live. She's pregnant, and her husband move back, and then her sisters kind of come along, and basically everything just gets opened up because the whole town thinks that they killed their parents, and they just could never prove it. And so they come back to town. The whole town hates them because they think that they killed their parents, and it's just one of those. It's a typical thriller. It was okay. I liked it. It wasn't that high on my list of books that I really, really like, but it's worth reading if you want just a random thriller to read. I think it's available on, I think I read it on Hoopla, so if you're looking for a free book from your library, it's decent, it's okay. But next one, I skipped basically from the 3 stars, now we're into the 4 stars. The next one, I read The Kind Worth Saving by Peter Swanson. Now this is the second book to The Kind Worth Killing, which I read a lot of years ago, and I can't really remember it, but I did rate it 5 stars. The Kind Worth Killing, I rated 5 stars. The Kind Worth Saving, I rated 4 stars. It was still good. I really want to read The Kind Worth Killing again because I don't remember it at all, and this was like when I first got into reading thrillers, so I can't always trust my judgment on ratings. But this one was about Joan, well, it's about Kimball, who's the character from the first one, and he is a private eye now, so one of his old students comes to him because she thinks that her husband is cheating on her, so she hires him to basically just follow him around and find out for sure whether he's cheating. And Kimball, when he was a high school teacher, had Joan as a student when a boy in her class just decided to kill another student and then kill himself, and it's kind of always haunted him. So he quit teaching, got into private eye, and he's just kind of suspicious of Joan and wondering why come to him after all this time. But she's willing to pay him money and he needs money, but he's just a little suspicious. He's just trusting his gut feeling, thinks something's wrong, and the book just kind of follows that intuition of his. I really liked the book. It was definitely kept you on the edge of your seat. It's one of those thrillers that are just what you expect of a thriller. You want twists, you want engaging characters, and that's what this has. So I rated it 4 stars. The next book on here is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. I have no clue how to say her last name. I really should have looked that up, but this is the 3rd book I've read from her, and I loved this book. It's written in World War II time, but it's not about like the Germans and the Nazis that you hear about all the time. It's about the Soviet Union side, like Stalin instead of Hitler, and just how awful things were for at that time. But the main character, she documents everything that happens through drawing, and it's very dangerous because if any of them saw what she was drawing, they would have really gotten mad. So it was really brave of this character to do. It's a fictional story, I believe, so it's not true, but it was just really interesting to read about that. I love historical fiction. It's particularly World War II era. I love that type of book, and it's just so sad. It had a great ending. I rated it 4.5 stars. Just definitely check it out if you like historical fiction. It was really good, and yeah, I'm really enjoying Ruta's books. I'm currently reading another one already just because I really like it, and I highly recommend them. Now, the last 2, I have 2 more left, and they are my 5-star reads of the month. I have 2, and it's crazy, but I have to pick my favorite. So my second favorite 5-star read of January was My Friends by Fredrik Backman. Now, if you're new here, you will learn I love Fredrik Backman's books, and the only reason I'm putting this second and not first is just because everybody loves this book, and I went into it knowing I was going to love it, and I did love it. It's one of those things that you kind of go into and you think, I don't know, I knew I was going to love it, and I did. So it's not overhyped. I don't think it's overhyped at all. It's about Louisa, who is a foster child, but she runs away. She just happens to stumble upon an artist who happens to be the artist she has admired growing up for years, and artist is dying, and he drew a picture of him, and it's his very first painting before he was famous, and they meet basically at the auction where this painting is at, and yeah, it just follows unlikely characters, you know, the ones that you want to root for, and people that kind of are not socially, like, they're socially awkward and they don't usually get a lot of friends, and life is hard for these people, and they're meeting in a way that you wouldn't expect. And yeah, I can't even explain the plot of the book. There is plot, obviously, but Fredrik Backman just pulls at those heartstrings with his quotes. His writing is beautiful, and 5-star. It's not overrated. I'm sure you've heard many people talk about this book, and it absolutely deserves those 5 stars. Now, on to the last book. This was my favorite book of the month, and a lot of other people are giving this 5 stars, and it is fully deserved, because I was literally just talking about how I felt that there's no new ideas for books anymore. All books, thriller books, historical fiction books, World War II books, romance books, they're all the same. I mean, they're not the same. They have little bits, but it's like nothing surprises me anymore, and there's no new concepts. And then I read this book. It's The Names by Florence Knapp. It was genius. It is about, basically it's like a core family. There's a mother, a father, a daughter who's about 9, and then they have a baby. The father is abusive, and the mother just doesn't know how to get out of it, and they have a new baby boy, and the father wants her to name him Gordon because that's his name, and that was his father's name, and it's the name that's been passed down. But the mother just doesn't want to give him that name, and she's walking to the registrar's office, and it just starts off with her kind of being like, what if I named him this? What if I named him that? And there's 3 names. One the daughter picks is Bear, and it's just because she says, she's 9, but she says it's because he's cuddly but strong and brave. And then there's the one that the mom likes is Julian, which means Sky Father. So she's kind of hoping that if she still names the son a name that's still dedication to the father, that he won't get so mad. And then there's also just Gordon if she doesn't want to go against the father's wishes. And basically every chapter is like going through the family's life, whether whatever name she picked. So if she picked Bear, if she picked Julian, if she picked Gordon, and just, I think it's like every 7 years, and following from when he's a baby to when he's, I think, in his 30s. And it just follows like what would have been different. And everybody has that moment in their life where they're like, if I didn't do this, my life would be completely different. And this book followed that and like explored that. And it was so interesting to read. And like, you kind of get 3 different stories out of one, and you get 3 different endings out of one. And I can't even decide which storyline I liked better, because in some ways the first one was great, and then the second, like, yeah, it's just hard to know. And it's like, you wish you could do that in your own life. Just think and know what choices you made changed your life, and not even your own choices. It's like other people's choices too. And it was such a good premise of a book. And it was so refreshing to read something so different than any of the other books I've read lately. So that one was my favorite book. I highly recommend that book. It is so good. I don't know what other books she has written or if she's written any, but if there is, I'm going to be looking at them. It definitely deserves the top spot in January, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's my favorite book of the year, but we are still very early. If you like this video, please hit subscribe or comment if you agree with any of these opinions. Again, these are all my own opinions. Obviously, everybody's going to have something else to say, but I love talking about books, whether it is if we have differing opinions or the same. I read all sorts of books, mainly thriller, historical fiction, and just fiction in general. But if you read those sorts of things and want to talk about books, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.